Hi guys, before the video starts I'm just gonna say I'm using music from Free Music Archive on YouTube. You can go check that channel out. I'm gonna leave the links down below so you can use them. And today's song is called Ditch Digging by Jingle Punks. Now, first off, I already installed Blender on my computer, so that is what you need to do. Now, second off, we're going to go to user preferences, and I'm going to explain what is good here, what should we do, what is relevantly important for us to have a nice workflow. So we're going to go and basically select and deselect certain stuff to see what is important, what is good. Now, the first on the list is zoom to mouse position. This can be selected because in default mode it is deselected. So let's see what happens. In original version, when we zoom, it zooms to this cursor. This is basically where it will always zoom, and for some people this can be disorienting because we want to zoom certain parts of a model or basically just go in a different direction, so this is not optimal for a nice workflow. I suggest you select zoom to mouse position. Now this will allow us that every time we zoom, it will zoom where our mouse is instead of zooming to the cursor, because our mouse is our orientation points. It is much easier to work this way, so I suggest doing this and your workflow should be much better. Now let us continue. So the rest of the options here are not that important, but we can just go and see what they do. Auto perspective, automatic switch between autographic. Auto perspective is basically 5 key on your numlock pad or numpad. So it's better to do this manually, not automatically, so I do not suggest to use this. 2D point viewer, pixel rate, this is not that important. So when zooming to frame, focus around current frame. Is this okay? This is personal. This is more personal, so if it helps your workflow, you can use it. Pie menus, additional options, I don't see this important to fix or to modify, but if you believe that it's necessary, you can do it. For interface part, this is it. Now let's move to editing. In editing, we have a lot of additional options which are quite useful, some are not. So interpolation is important when we create animations. We wish sometimes that we have, well, as we see Bezier, it means that our video is going to go slow, then a straight line. How to explain this? It's going to start slow, then go in some constant speed, then start to slow again. And this is okay if we want to go for an object to basically do this. It goes slow, then constant, and in the end slow again. So this can be also modified from case to case, so you don't have to work it that hard, but constant is for me the best. I suggest you use constant because objects from point A to point B will have a constant velocity. There will be no slowing down, no strange shifts. So if you do linear, that will basically mean that the object is moving, how should I say, it's hard to explain, but basically constant or linear are much better than Bezier, so I suggest you put either linear or constant, whichever suits you. Linear for me is better, so that should be set there. Okay, now next what is important is pencil. So we can set the pixel rate if we're doing certain editing and in form of modeling and so forth. We should put more emphasis on this, but for now okay, I'm not doing anything special. Smooth strokes, the final strokes. This is basically for editing an object and how your brush is going to behave. So if you need this, you can use these options. I'm not going to do a very hard editing, as one will say, but so this is not important for me. Now let us continue. Negative frames. This is ability that a video can have a certain prior shift. What is this? Why is this important? Because as you can see here, this is our timeline. So sometimes we wish to have certain things happen before the video starts. So this is okay if we wish to create certain situations where we have an effect that has to be rendered before we start our video recording and something like that. So if a situation arises, I suggest you use this. This is basically situational, so whatever you're doing, whatever you needs do you have for your workflow, you can allow this. So let's continue. Auto offset margin. Now minimum distance between nodes for auto offsetting nodes. This is for editing nodes. Nodes and modules will be covered in later tutorials, so we will focus more there. And animation effects. Mount the usual F-curve stand out from the background. Usually animation editors, the F-curve visibility. If you need this modified, here is the option. So let's see, a global undo. Now this is very important. I suggest that you set global undo to 10, because the memory limit is important for basically how much memory usage you're going to allocate to your work, because if you set undos to more than 10, there is a good chance that your computer is going to stall. If you have a very nice machine, you can go up to 100 moves. But so let's just explain what are these steps. If I modify an object and put a modifier on it, that is considered one step. If I delete a face, that is considered one step. If I move any of its points, that is considered one step. So I have done 3 steps, and basically if I have 10 steps, I have 7 more that I can use. So if I go 7 steps over, basically 1 step over, the last step, the one that was applying a certain modifier, will not allow me to undo that modification. So this is number of steps. The memory limit, this is important for some people. If you set 0, basically it will use all available memory that it can use, and that is necessary for undoing. But I have a very strong machine, so I do not need this. If you want, you can set it for yourself. So let's continue. Now, align object to view, align object to world. This is basically how the object is aligned. I suggest to set up the world because it will follow the XY axes. Usually in start you can align it to view, so wherever and however your camera is turned, it will align it align the object that way. I do not recommend that, but this is personal, so if you need it for modding, you can use it. But this is more personal. How do you wish your workflow to be set up? Now let's continue. So we have new object, enter edit mode. There are two ways when we put new objects. If we are in an object mode, and we add two objects, each object is one for itself, or one on its own. So can we do something else? Yes. If we're in edit mode and we add another object, let's just show you what I mean. So I am in edit mode and I add another cube. Here is the other cube. These cubes are considered one object. So in editing, if I exit it and go into object mode, if I move it, you see, it is one object. So if you're in object mode and I add a cube, this cube is going to be on its own, independent from this object. This is important and useful, so just keep it in mind. Now, link materials to object data or object. I suggest object data because there are additional aspects that you're going to add to any certain object, so keep this on object data. Now, keyframe visual keyring. Use visual keyring automatically for constraining objects. Keyframing is important when we are fixing or when we are modifying behaviors of animations. So if we are trying to create a walk simulation or something like that, keyframes are very important. So this can be important for anybody who is more in editing of animations. Yeah, we can use this, but for now it's not important for me. Keyframe insertion, only when keyframe needed. This is basically when, again, we are referring to animations. Inserting keyframes is important because this is where we shift object location usually, or we wish to modify certain abilities or certain behaviors. Keyframes are very important for animation, so if you know what you're doing, okay. Now let me see. Duplicate data. When we are duplicating any object, there are two ways of duplication. One is joint duplication, where we are basically creating a copy of one direct object, and that copy is always dependent on the original one. What does that mean? Well, if I change color on original one, the duplicated one will change color also. So, for instance, this is good to do because we can create a couple of rocks, we can create a couple of trees, and if I do a modification on one, the other will follow that modification. Of course, why is this good? Why is this optimal? Well, when we duplicate in this manner, we are basically saving data, because computer Blender is saying, okay, this is my primary data and this is just its copy, and I'm going to generate it at this point, rotate it in this way, and so forth. So it basically reduces data needed to create certain animations or what we wish. Now, when we duplicate, there is always ability what we are duplicating. So, do we want to duplicate certain lamps? Yes. Do we want to duplicate armature? And so forth. If we want to duplicate materials, textures and particles, we have to enable this, because in its original state we cannot do that. What does that mean? Well, when it says lamp, this means that if I go to lamp, here is a lamp, and I want to duplicate it, I have an option, duplicate object. Now if I want to do that with the material or texture, as we have seen in here, as we have seen here, this option will not be shown. So you can enable it if you need it, but for me, I don't need it. I don't need to duplicate materials and texture, because when I have one object and I duplicate it, it becomes the copy with all its original data. So if, for instance, I take this cube, I will assign it some material, change the color of material, and this is the material. So I want to duplicate, whoops, sorry, now I'm going to duplicate an object, and as you see, this duplicated object follows the copies the material of the original one. So what will happen if I change it? This is what I was talking about. So if I change things on an original one, the copy will follow, and vice versa. But this is very nice because we can create a good portion of duplicated objects, for instance rocks, trees, grass, that are quite similar one to each other, and in the end we want them to basically look the same, have the same texture. Instead of creating each of them by hand painstakingly, anything that we modify on the original will be copied to each duplicate. Now, input. This is the ability to use and modify our hotkeys, and yeah, it's quite extensive. I suggest that you spend some time. Well, it's not easy to, as you can see, it's very comprehensive, so I'm just gonna skip this. Add-ons. As you have seen, there are a lot of add-ons. I have not already. Okay, add curve extra objects, Ivy, this is nice, sapling, nice. I have not installed each and every one of them. Once you select them, just save them, and there is an option that I want to show you. It's called insert from file. So for me, I'm going to go on my desktop. Okay. Desktop, and I already prepared a parent to empty addon.python. Now I downloaded this from a site, I'm sorry I forgot which site, but generally if you are able, download a certain Python script, create a Python file, and there are some add-ons that need this way of installing, and now I can click install. So as you see, it has given me an option to install it and use it. So this is what I wanted to show you. Themes. Now in themes we can generally edit our Blender interface so it matches basically what we want. I believe there are a couple of presets, as you can see. Oh Jesus. I'm gonna use this one, but never mind. Discarding this, you can install additional themes, of course. You can reset to default theme, thank you. And this is basically I'm not going to go into details. You can set this up, personalize Blender for yourself. So you can create a lot of presets and just change from preset to preset what you need. Now, file, this is where you can set up where are your temporary files, where every file you create is going to be saved primarily, every image or something from rendering, videos and so forth. You can preset here, so you should check this out. Now in system settings, there are a lot of options here, basically more in tune to what are you going to do or what are you going to use as your rendering options and so forth. Now I'm just going to go a little bit through this, but compute device is very important. You can use CPU, and depending if it's a Windows, Mac, these options can differ a lot, so do be careful. And CPU here, so I'm going to use my I'm AMD CPU for a lot of things. Now anti-aliasing and additional options are available because you can create certain, well, graphically, as I would say, heavy stuff. So if you want to spend more time going through these options, you can. Basically, I don't touch anything for now, only when I need to, because for basic modeling I don't need almost anything special from here. So only when I'm either rendering or when I'm making a game or something like that, I'll go into options, but for now that is it. So this is basically our this is basically my tutorial, so I hope you liked it. If you're more interested on Blender tutorials, please keep up. So yeah, that's it for now. See you guys later.